Hello, welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to completely dismantle everything you think you know about that water bottle sitting on your desk right now.
I know. You've been told 1,000 times to drink 8 glasses a day. You carry a gallon jug to the gym. But what if I told you that chugging plain water might actually be dehydrating you? What if that water isn't going into your cells, but just sitting around them? To explain why hydration is actually about electricity and biology, not just volume, I am joined by Dr. Flo. He is a leading renal and hydration specialist who has spent decades studying how our kidneys and cells actually process fluids.
It is a pleasure to be here, and you are right to question the gallon jug. In my line of work, we see a lot of people who drink liters of water a day, yet their blood work shows cellular dehydration.
It's a paradox. You are drowning your body, but your cells are thirsty. We need to shift our thinking from wetting the body to charging the body.
That is a fascinating way to put it, charging the body. So let's tackle the biggest myth first, the 8 glasses of water rule. Where did this come from, and why is it wrong?
It stems from a 1945 recommendation by the Food and Nutrition Board. They suggested 2.5 liters of water daily. However, people stopped reading after that first sentence.
The very next sentence said, most of this quantity is contained in prepared foods. You see, food, especially fruits, vegetables, and meats, contains water structured with minerals.
When you drink plain filtered water in isolation, you are introducing a solvent. Water is a solvent. If you put too much solvent into a system without the solute, the minerals, you create a dilution effect.
So, by drinking pure water, we are actually watering down our blood? That sounds counterintuitive. Doesn't the body just grab the water it needs?
Not exactly. Think of your body as a salty soup. If you keep adding plain tap water to the soup, it becomes tasteless and weak. The biology is similar.
When you flush the system with plain water, your body senses that the electrolyte concentration in your blood is dropping. This is dangerous. The body prioritizes maintaining that salty balance over holding on to the water. So, what do the kidneys do? They open the floodgates. You urinate clear liquid. You think, look at me, I'm so hydrated. My urine is clear. But in reality, you are just a pass-through mechanism. You are stripping your body of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. This is voluntary mild hyponatremia.
That is a massive wake-up call. I always equated clear urine with health, but you mentioned something earlier, cellular hydration versus just water in the body.
I feel like sometimes when I drink a lot of water, I just feel slushy and bloated. I don't feel energized. Is that the difference?
Precisely. That slushy feeling is extracellular water. It is water sitting outside the cells, in the interstitial spaces. It's what causes bloating and swollen ankles.
True hydration is intracellular. We want the water inside the cell. But here's the catch. Water cannot just walk through the cell membrane on its own.
The cell membrane is a lipid bilayer. It's fat. Water and oil don't mix. The cell is a fortress. To get water inside, you need a key. You need a transport mechanism.
This brings us to the core of the discussion, electrolytes. I think most people think of electrolytes as what's in a sports drink.
But biologically, what are they doing? How do they open that door to the cell?
This is where the magic happens. We need to talk about the sodium-potassium pump. This is likely the most important mechanism in your body that you've never thought about.
Imagine a revolving door at a busy hotel. This door requires energy to spin. In the cell, this revolving door pumps sodium out and pulls potassium in.
For every 3 sodium ions we push out, we pull 2 potassium ions in. This creates an electrical charge difference, a gradient. It turns your cell into a battery.
Wait, so the cell is literally a battery, and salt is what charges it?
Exactly. Without sufficient sodium, that pump stops. If the pump stops, the battery dies. No energy. But here is how it relates to water.
Water follows sodium. It's a rule of osmosis. When you have the right balance of sodium and glucose, There is a specific transporter called SGLT, sodium glucose linked transporter.
Think of it like a carpooling lane. The water wants to get into the club, the cell, but the bouncer, the membrane, won't let it in alone.
However, if the water grabs the hand of a sodium ion and a tiny bit of glucose, the bouncer opens the velvet rope. They rush in together.
That is such a clear image. So if I just drink water, I'm standing at the door alone. If I have electrolytes, I have the VIP pass.
But you mentioned the pump uses energy. Does that mean being dehydrated makes us tired because the pump isn't working?
It is the primary cause of fatigue. The sodium-potassium pump uses up to 30% of your body's total energy expenditure at rest. It is a massive energy consumer.
If you are electrolyte deficient, the body has to work twice as hard to maintain that electrical gradient. You feel sluggish, you have brain fog.
Your neurons, your brain cells, communicate via these electrical signals. If the sodium concentration is off, the signal is weak. It's like trying to download a movie on bad Wi-Fi.
That explains the brain fog people describe. It's literal electrical failure. I want to pivot to something you wrote about regarding aging. You mentioned that dehydration is particularly dangerous for older adults because they lose the thirst signal. How does that happen?
This is a critical public health issue. In the brain, we have the hypothalamus. It has osmoreceptors, sensors that detect how salty your blood is.
When you are young, these sensors are sensitive. If your blood gets 1% too salty, they scream thirst and you drink.
But as we age, the sensitivity of these receptors declines. You could be significantly dehydrated, your blood volume dropping, and your brain, it just doesn't send the memo. So my grandmother isn't being stubborn when she says she isn't thirsty? She physically doesn't feel it?
She physically does not feel it. That is why for older adults, and frankly for busy professionals too, we need conscious hydration or behavioral hydration, not reactive hydration.
If you wait until you are parched, you are already behind the curve. By the time the thirst signal triggers, your cognitive function has already dipped.
That is scary. And it leads to the systemic effects. We talked about brain fog, but what about things like blood pressure? I've heard people say salt raises blood pressure, but you're saying we need it.
This is the most controversial and misunderstood area. Yes, for a small subset of the population who are salt sensitive, excess sodium can raise pressure.
But for the majority, chronic dehydration increases blood pressure. Here's why. Blood is mostly water. When you are dehydrated, your blood volume drops. To keep the blood moving to your brain and organs, your blood vessels have to constrict. They tighten up to maintain pressure.
Furthermore, your body releases a hormone called vasopressin. Its job is to retain water, but it also constricts arteries. So dehydration literally squeezes your vascular system.
Incredible! So by avoiding salt and water, we might be forcing our bodies to crank up the pressure just to circulate blood?
Correct. And think about sleep. This connects to the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response.
When you are dehydrated, your body views it as a stress state. It releases cortisol and adrenaline. It keeps you alert because, evolutionarily, if you are dehydrated, you needed to find water, not sleep.
Many people wake up with a racing heart or anxiety in the middle of the night. Often they are just dehydrated. A small glass of electrolyte water before bed can sometimes fix insomnia better than a sleeping pill. That is a game changer for people struggling with sleep. So let's wrap this up with a practical protocol. If we ditch the 8 glasses of plain water, what do we do instead?